Good evening. We begin tonight with breaking news out of the Middle East. Israeli warplanes have launched a series of devastating airstrikes across Syria. Reports are coming in of explosions rocking the country. Smoke fills the night sky. This is one of the most intense Israeli military operations inside Syria in years. Adding to the chaos, there are conflicting reports of Israeli ground troops crossing the border. The situation is developing rapidly. We are getting information from multiple sources on the ground. What we know right now is that these strikes represent a significant escalation of force. The Syrian government is condemning the attacks. They call it a blatant violation of their sovereignty. Israel has long been wary of activity within Syria. Their primary concern is the presence of Iranian forces and their Hezbollah allies. These groups are considered a direct threat to Israel's security. However, tonight's actions take this conflict to a new level. We have correspondents stationed across the region. They are working to gather more information. We will continue to monitor the situation closely and bring you the latest updates as they become available. The big question tonight: what sparked this sudden escalation? And what will the consequences be? We'll be right back. To understand the gravity of tonight's events, we need to rewind the clock. Syria has been embroiled in a brutal civil war for over a decade. It began in 2011 with peaceful protests against President Bashar al-Assad's regime. Those protests were met with violence and the country quickly descended into chaos. The conflict is complex. Multiple factions are vying for control. You have the Syrian government, backed by Russia and Iran. On the other side are various rebel groups, some supported by the West, others with ties to extremist organizations. This instability right on Israel's doorstep is a nightmare scenario. Israel has watched with growing concern as Iran has increased its influence in Syria. They see Iranian forces and their Hezbollah proxies operating with impunity. This has led to numerous clashes along the border in recent years. Israel's main objective has always been to prevent these groups from gaining a foothold in Syria. They want to keep advanced weapons out of their hands and stop attacks on their territory. Tonight's strikes, while dramatic, are not entirely out of character. Israel has shown a willingness to use force to protect its interest in the region, but the scale of this operation raises serious questions about what comes next. Across Syria, the night sky was lit up by explosions. Eyewitnesses describe a relentless barrage of missiles. The Israeli military has been characteristically tight-lipped about the details of their operation. However, they have confirmed that their warplanes targeted multiple locations inside Syria. While the full extent of the damage is still being assessed, early reports suggest that the strikes were extensive. Social media is flooded with images and videos showing destroyed buildings and plumes of smoke rising from the rubble. The Syrian government claims that the strikes targeted civilian infrastructure, including a hospital and a school. These reports are unconfirmed, and Israel has vehemently denied targeting anything other than military objectives. They insist their actions were in self-defense, aimed at degrading the capabilities of hostile forces operating within Syria. Adding to the confusion tonight are reports of Israeli ground troops operating inside Syria. This is where the story gets even murkier. Some sources suggest that Israeli forces have moved beyond the established buffer zone along the border. We're hearing reports of troops advancing several kilometers into Syrian territory. There's even talk of strategic locations like Mount Hermon falling under Israeli control. However, the Israeli military has pushed back against these claims. They maintain that their ground operations are limited to securing the border and preventing infiltration. Independent verification of these claims is difficult. The situation on the ground is fluid and extremely dangerous. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a UK-based monitoring group, claims that Israeli troops are operating near the Lebanese border. That would put them within 25 kilometers of Damascus, a significant development if true.